How does one ask a Tyrannosaurus out for luncheon? Tea? Rex? Get it? Tea? Oh, now I'm slightly peckish. Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the I've forgotten what year it is. Is this 2023 or 24? Oh God, not a good start. Porca puttana. I get my phone. I don't know what year it is. Amore, what year is this? Is this 2022? Yeah. It's 2023, okay. Okay, grazie. Here we are, 2023. Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show for the state of the collection. Doing it a little bit earlier this year because I'm not going to buy any more watches, and I certainly have none on my Christmas wish list. So yeah, I just thought I'd do it now, end of November at the time of recording this. I'll do a wristwatch check, not including any watches I designed or co-designed, so hence I'm wearing the Rangemaster Mechanical. There it is. A little bit of good news. The Rangemaster 2 has been confirmed for next year, so stay tuned. It is going to be the most exciting Rangemaster. I mean, this was amazing. They're all amazing, but it's going to be next level. I'm not going to say any more, but I think you guys are really going to be impressed. I've got written here, I am on target. I managed to almost halve my collection, so which is pretty bold for me. A little bit of seller's remorse already creeping in, you know, it doesn't help with Instagram and all the channels that I enjoy. You know, seeing watches I've sold off and then they look always so good on other people's wrists, right? Anyway, gotta stay strong, gotta stay strong. The images you are now seeing are all those that have left my collection as part of a greater effort to reduce it dramatically in size. Around 16 or so pieces were either sold off during 2023 or simply given away, and in one particular case, like the quintessentially classic DW5600 G-Shock, it was retired and replaced after 8+ years of intense beta use. The reason for that piece going was very straightforward, others not so much. In previous years, some watches actually migrated into my wife's collection, like the famed Seiko Sub 033, which for some reason everybody always asks about, even though that happened donkeys years ago. Most, however, were sacrificed as part of a blood out, blood in policy. No new watches could be added unless 3 or more were sold. Preferably pieces that overlapped in some way, or watches that were simply purchased in moments of indulgence, so-called impulse buys, that went unworn after the initial honeymoon period wore off. Others, more serious heavy hitters, went after months of deliberation. These were the toughest of choices to make, but I do have to stick to my plan and practice what I preach, otherwise it will just spiral out of control, and my words of promise, not only to myself but you guys, will be empty of any meaning. But there is a silver lining. Knowing that these amazing timepieces are being worn and enjoyed far more than I can ever allow actual wrist time with does give me some solace and helps lessen the inevitable seller's remorse. Guys, if you've bought a watch because of my recommendation that I used to own and now I don't own it, do not take it personally. Do not get offended. Everything I've ever said about a watch, I stand by. It doesn't mean that I have to own it for those words to have value or to be true. It just means that, you know, my time with that watch has passed. So I want to make that abundantly clear. As of last year's State of the Collection, I decided to exclude watches that I have either co-designed or designed completely, as the amount now is well over a dozen and essentially a collection in itself. This is expected to double in the coming few years, as I have several Urban Gentry limited editions in the works, but the vast majority are now watches I have designed for various brands privately. For those that don't know, I've been doing a lot of consulting work as my main form of income for various watch brands throughout the world since about 2019. Every year or so I do more of this kind of work and give my input into watches in a varying degree, as I also understand that not everyone desires or knows about the Urban Gentry. So with these unbranded collabs, I just get to focus on helping the watchmakers make the best watches they can. A secret designer of sorts, if you will. And who knows, you could be actually wearing something I helped create and not even know it. But finally, there are watches that stay in the bank vault due to their high value and importance, and are only brought out on special occasions. This includes my grandfather GHW's Charles Frodsham pocket watch, and mainly my Rolex pieces. In fact, I only ever tend to keep a third of my collection in rotation outside of the bank for obvious reasons. So we'll start with an absolute heavyweight, a favourite for a long time, the flighty, mighty Flightmaster. What can I say about this watch that hasn't been said a million times? So I'm just going to leave it there. It was going to be the only Seiko in my collection until I, gave in to my own influence, and I got the Willard. I borrowed it to review and I simply could not send it back. Shout out to Derek at Moyer Fine Jewelers for giving me a decent deal. It doesn't matter that I'm on YouTube or whatever, he is fair and square with me. I'll be doing more videos about this watch because there's so much to talk about the Willard. I miss the SKX, I miss having a Seiko diver, and I've just fallen in love with the Willard, especially this newer case. It is just insanely comfortable for a large watch. So those are my only two Seikos. It will be lovely to add a Grand Seiko, but as I've said, that will happen when I go to Japan, so a little Seiko trio. Next we have the civilian version, very rare, the Averex style with the little Averex logo. They of course made the jackets for the US Air Force pilots, the same jacket as in Top Gun, 34mm, basically identical to the mil spec, but we have the branding of course on the wrist candy again. The Perlon, just a great all-round classic field watch. The DW290, my favourite Casio of all time. I used to think this thing was absolutely hideously ghastly. I've come to understand the reason behind all these little features. It's an incredibly intelligent design, doesn't overhang the strap. And by the way, this is a strap from the Calculator watch, another watch that's left my collection. It just works very well, almost, well, perfectly. Look at that, with the perforations, and super comfortable. I put this on when I'm feeling a bit down, to be honest, and I do cardio with it. I've bought 3 other of the same watch, all in boxes. I'm stockpiling them. I'm petrified they're gonna discontinue it. It's just an amazing watch. It's got a really cool history with the FBI, with NASA aquanauts, and a very strong military following as well. So 200 meters water resistance. I love the flash alert. It's just very useful. Now we have the complete antithesis, my latest acquisition, the Girard-Perregaux, I think it's the 4794 if I recall correctly, with that incredible decorated movement, just amazing. Look at that rotor. Some people said, oh, it's very old-fashioned, a bit like a pocket watch, but that's exactly what I want. I know taste is subjective, but it's very difficult to say this is not good taste. This is so classic. More information in the video, but for formal attire, absolutely perfect. The last subby standing, well, almost. I did a video all about it recently. I just don't like new Tudor. I think I've come to that realization. A lot of people got upset with that video. If you love your Black Bay, if you love your, I don't know, what else do they do? I forget what else they do. It's so prevalent. Your Ranger and your this and your that. I'm happy for you. Do not let my opinions diminish your enjoyment. That's not what it's about. I'm just saying, for me, I prefer old Tudor. That's it. you know, that's all. Basically a Submariner, a Rolex just with Tudor dial and an ETA inside. When I'm feeling in a more Bondian mood, I put that on and it does the trick. Now we have a watch that I reviewed, again added it to my collection. I reviewed the black dial no date, but I went for this blue because it just gives me that, well, scratches that Royal Oak itch, but this definitely does have its own characteristics. It is twice the price of a PRX, but I'd still choose it over a PRX every single time. Again, don't get offended by my opinions. The PRX, there's a lot of hype about it. It doesn't really do anything for me. This is a lot more nuanced design. I think all the design elements are a lot more congruent and work better with each other. You gotta remember, Tissot is a mainly mechanized, huge, gargantuan Swatch Group backed. You know, they literally pump watches out, whereas this is a micro brand. It's funny, before I reviewed this, I was starting to feel that the vintage style trend was played out. But they did this reissue of a 1977, hence its name, it's the F77. They did a bang up job bringing it back to life, very period correct, but it's a racing watch inspired piece. So we have the upholstery is the thinking behind the pattern on the dial, we have the sandwich hands referencing the Daytona, we have oyster bracelets just done incredibly well, very, very solid. I have quite a few friends that have the PRX, so I know it well, and side by side, it just blows it out the water. I think it's definitely worth twice as much. And also the size, it's just perfect. It's like, you know, I think some PRXs are 40 and the other one is smaller. I think it's 36 if I remember correctly, and this one is just slap bang in the middle. Next, my only green dial watch, the Space View Accutron there. I absolutely love what Boulevard are doing this year. I think they're coming back and doing it the right way, listening to the fan base. And having said that, I still love my 1968. I call it the Sir Richard Rogers because he had basically almost the same one. I wanted to get as close to the one he owned. You know, being British Italian, he's a big idol for me, and growing up in London and around his architecture. I love how they basically started this whole thing of exposing the movement in this avant-garde way. Absolutely love Accutron. Also a nice link back to my days in Astoria when I lived in New York for over 10 years. So next we have my Rolex Pepsi GMT Master 2. And as I said for the video for Davide Cecchini's channel, mi porta sempre fortuna quando viaggio. You know, always brings me good luck when I travel. I don't really know what else to say about this watch. It's just a classic, definite keeper. Next, my little Genta designed masterpiece, the piece that inspired the Patek Ellipse. Rubelli, the designer of the Ellipse, even said in an interview that he undoubtedly had influence in his Ellipse design. So the white shadow here for Universal Geneve, whenever you say, oh, I don't like homage, everyone's guilty of it. Doesn't matter who you are, how high, low, incredibly luxurious on this integrated bracelet with the micro rotor inside. Not only is it a design icon, it's a horological icon in terms of its engineering, but I love that blue. It's kind of a grey blue. The final Navi timer is next, the Cosmonaut, very particular watch. Was it Le Mans? I can't remember now, but I love the Navi timer. It's so busy, but this one is unlike most where it tells the time in a 24-hour format, so the hour hand takes 24 hours to go around. It's very bewildering at the beginning, but then you kind of start to appreciate time in a whole new way. You have to get used to it, you know. It's a bit like the Meistersingers, not the opera. I'm talking about the German watches. You have to get used to it. I really love it on this Rios. I actually got an aftermarket Breitling buckle. Next, the 2-day dates. The date day, of course, by Tudor, two-tone budget version with the ETA, and then the Rolex here with the linen dial, double quick set. This for more special occasions, this for every day, a little bit tougher. I just love this 36mm size. I love the date just, and I get that feeling with the two-tone here, but with the added complication. This also I picked up this year. I've owned tons of them, as you guys know, after hearing that they've definitely been discontinued, because there was a nice steady flow for the Asian market, which you can find them typically in Hong Kong. They stopped, so I was like, you know what, let me just get the champagne dial. That was always my favorite. I would have preferred the Romans, but beggars can't be choosers, so yeah, this is a great 1-2 punch, so to speak. Okay, next we have what I call the Total Recall because of that dial design. This is a translucent new G-Shock Square. It's a kind of, as Mark says, a dumb smartwatch. It can you can find it with your phone via Bluetooth, has certain updates and stuff, but without the emails and all that rubbish, which is exactly what I want. Inexpensive, and it updates itself automatically from your phone, from an app, so the accuracy is dead on. And on top of that, it's got this kind of translucent sci-fi aesthetic, which I really love, and it's like the way it kind of fades into black there. Very, very cool. They're always on sale. You can get them for about $100, so it's perfect for working out, perfect if you want something super accurate, you know, time your other watches. Believe it or not, I acquired at the beginning of the year. This is my most worn watch of 2023, my Panerai Luminor here, again on the Riscandi Watch Club strap on the waffle. I just love the waffle, you know, if you haven't noticed. I wore this in Florence recently, had it serviced, got it for an absolute bargain. It's the older 40. The new 40 is only 100 meters lighter, smaller, certainly with the in-house movement, but this is modified Valjoux. They basically took out the chronograph. Unequivocally cheaper to maintain. You get that 300 meter water resistance. I wish it was a sandwich dial. I've bonded with this watch. I wear it almost I would say every other day. I would never expected it. It just wears so well, super legible. I just love its versatility, you know, and just takes me back to Firenze and that special time and revisiting that city that is so important to me. So I have a huge sentimental attachment to this watch now, and it's funny, when I got it, a few of you were like, oh, you're gonna flip it, you're gonna get bored of it. Nope, almost a year later and I'm still as besotted and obsessed, and I'm a diehard Panerista. I can't believe it, but you know, stranger things have happened. Looks great the more you bash it up, you know, so I'm just enjoying it. Okay, next is my Santos, which has come back from servicing. There was an issue with the hidden pusher here, so it went for a full service. So anyway, I sent it in for an overhaul, and it just literally got back today, so perfect timing. The Gal B there with the moon phase, exact same size as Michael Douglas's full gold one from the movie Wall Street. Oh, just look at it, the blued hands. For me, it just fits perfectly. I love the vintage size, the 80s, 90s size of it. It's just perfect for me. Look at that. Last but by no means least, so I had the Squale Azzurro, which I'll discuss in just a moment, but I've decided to keep the forged carbon. This is the previous version. Now, they've lent me this. This is not part of my collection, but this is the new release for 2023. They've updated it. They've given it a loomed bezel, and the dial is different, but the same essentially everywhere else in the case. I have to decide if I want to upgrade now. To be honest, I do prefer the matte dial of mine and the more stealthy, military-esque look. Of course, it's based on the same Squale 1521 case, but in that forged carbon. I believe they broke the record of being the first 500 meter capable Swiss automatic in forged carbon. So it's great to see Squale still pushing ahead, and I love the idea it's a more contemporary Squale. Again, waffle strap, but I swapped out to the PVD buckle there with the Squale logo. I just love the idea of having a macho, tooltastic kind of... I almost wanted to get a second Luminor and then have it Cerakoted, but ridiculously expensive endeavor, so I think I would just stay with this. Rarely scratches that, you know, no nonsense, I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass and all the rest of it kind of aesthetic. So yeah, loving this. So there we have it. It's a smaller, more concise lineup here. Yeah, just love it. Anyway, there we go, guys. So these four I've identified as potentially on the chopping block, shall we say. And this is going to shock a lot of people, but I am actually considering letting my Rolex Explorer go. Yes, it's one of my favorite watches of all time, so why don't I want to own it? Well, it inspired almost every watch I've co-designed, not all of them, but most of them, take the Laurier, the Safari. That gives me much more Explorer vibes or 1016 vibes than the real thing. And it feels more personal to me. The same with the Squale divers that I put the Explorer dial into. The ultimate mishmash of all the things I love. So I don't really feel I have to own the Explorer anymore to be able to appreciate it or to get that Explorer hit, I guess you could say. Of course, it's on the Valor strap. I will probably put this now on the Tudor sub because it just really goes. But I'm not going to rush into it. I mean, I'm going to put these back in the bank vault. I also got to do some research because I don't know when is the right time to sell your Rolexes. Speaking of Rolexes, the two-tone subby. Again, I love this watch, but something's got to go. I don't want to have multiple Submariners, even though in an ideal world you would, right? You see, those two together probably will pay for the majority of my Grail watch, my Super Grail watch next year. Then there's just simple overlap. Like, yes, I love the White Shadow, but I think between this and, where is it? Let me just bring it in. Between the blue one wins for me. I'll probably sell it privately, you know, somebody who really wants it. You know, I've said that the Patek Ellipse is my favorite Patek, but having the watch that inspired the Patek, this one does it all for me. I think the White Shadow is actually Genta's most underrated work. And then, of course, there's the Squale. Now, I wish I had the original where they still wrote the Squale on the side, and the very first one that made me fall in love with the brand, that I bought off Mark and sparked off that friendship 10 years ago now. But I don't, so this was kind of trying to be that. I have the limited edition Squale 1521, the Lion Shark that I co-designed, so this is kind of unnecessary. I don't wear it that much sometimes in the summer. I'm more in love with the look of it and what it represents rather than actually having something that I wear. Between these two, I like the more modernist machismo of forged carbon here, so I'm going to stay with that one. I wouldn't get rid of this if I didn't have the special edition. I've got 3 limited editions. I've got enough Squale. I love the Azzurro. It's always going to have a special place in my heart. But like the Explorer, you know, I don't necessarily have to own it to love it. As for my next watches, I have 3 golds so far. As I've said before, I'd love to add a Frédéric Constant. I genuinely feel that this Swiss brand is going places, especially in terms of competitive value for their proprietary calibers and of course their elegantly classic design language. While I was extremely tempted by their tourbillon, their unique take on the world timer complication is what I've always really desired. FC introduced it first in 2012, a unique mechanism, adjustable solely via the single crown. So no hidden pushers or an extra button like the Patek. The problem is, I'm still waiting for a smaller, ideally 38mm version and not the current 42mm like the classic version they offer right now. So I'm going to wait and watch very closely what FC does next. Secondly, and try not to roll your eyes, you probably guessed it, the Omega Speedmaster. It's been on my mind a lot recently after the recent refamiliarization of this old friend for a video. I received a Moyer magazine in the post just a few days ago, and on the back was the meraviglioso Segna Gold version. I can't deny my thing for the Speedy still persists, no matter the material and how much time passes. My third and final goal is, of course, my Grail watch, which I will reveal sometime next year, so stay tuned. So I went from 36 watches last year down to 18, give or take 1 or 2. If I add a Grail or the other watch golds, that will put it up a bit. Maybe it'll be 15, 14, I don't know. Around 14, 15, that's the goal for next year. Let's see what happens, including the final Grail. And then I'm out. And that's it. Bye. I don't know. I haven't been this happy for a while. I think I'm onto a good thing. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. What are you aspiring to? Are you growing or trying to purge your collection? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing your feedback. As always, don't forget to like this video, especially if you want to see more free and independent content. I will catch you in the next one. Onwards and upwards. Thank you for watching. Ciao.